Howdy folks, I'm Jenny G. You all might have noticed that I haven't uploaded in a few months, and yeah, my next few video essays have been taking me a good while to finish. But I still wanted to get something out in the meantime, so I'm going to revisit one of the first games that I've ever played, one that I basically never see discussion about. Some people's first games were Super Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time, but mine was Walt Disney World Quest and Magical Racing Tour. What a title! Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour was a Disney Parks themed racer that released for the Dreamcast, Game Boy Color, PC, and PlayStation on March 23, 2000. The game takes place in the titular Floridian resort, adapting its many iconic attractions into interactive raceways for you and 5 CPUs to speed through. It may sound like an average Mario Kart clone, and that's because it is, but interestingly, it was published by Eidos Interactive and developed by Crystal Dynamics, the acclaimed team behind the Legacy of Kain series, several Tomb Raider games, Marvel's Avengers, and yeah...
Say the line, Jenny!
Gex. The thing is, the idea of a racing game where the tracks are iconic theme park rides is honestly kind of smart. After all, your typical Mario Kart course isn't too different from your typical Disney attraction. They're both designed to be full of spectacle, with unique themes to draw you in, thrilling layouts to keep you excited, and plentiful details to add to the immersion. Combining these two ideas is basically a match made in heaven, but a good idea can only take you so far if the game itself isn't fun to play. While Crystal Dynamics does have a track record of decent games and gex, Magical Racing Tour is still a licensed racing title at the end of the day, and you don't need me to tell you that those aren't usually very good. So to clear things up, I'm going to revisit this game as an adult, giving it a fair shot, but also attempting to not let nostalgia blind me. It's time to find out if Magical Racing Tour is a thrilling jaunt like Space Mountain or an underwhelming flop like Superstar Limo. Now please stand clear of the doors because this ride is about to begin.
Welcome to Walt Disney World.
Upon starting up the game, the player is presented with three main modes: Adventure, the single-player mode, Versus for local multiplayer, and Time Trials, where you can attempt to clear each course as fast as you can. Heh, that non-guy sucks at this game. Since I don't have anyone to play this with, I spent the bulk of my time in the Adventure mode, which actually does kinda sorta have a story. When Chip and Dale drop some acorns into the park's fireworks machine, it breaks into a bunch of pieces that spread out all across the Walt Disney World Resort. To fix this, the player must race through each course to unlock all of the pieces before the nightly fireworks show. The mode mostly consists of normal races against CPUs, with occasional extra challenges to keep things fresh, such as finding 8 hidden fairies in each area or grabbing some trophies within a time limit. CPU races may sound nice and easy, but enemy AI is surprisingly tough. Your opponents will abuse items, and they will use shortcuts, and they will pull far ahead of you if you're not diligent. To combat this, the game provides several tools to help you fight back, including the usual bunch of Mario Kart-inspired items. You have the variations of the mushroom, the red shell, the banana peel, plus some slightly more unique items, like the lightning equivalent, which turns everyone into a frog for a few seconds, and the rocket, which is like the bullet bill before the bullet bill was even a thing. The items at least try to put their own spin on the formula, but they also aren't very balanced. For example, the lightning bolt in Mario Kart only happens once or twice per race, but the frog in Magical Racing Tour does not have that same limitation. I've had it hit up to 5 or 6 times in one match, and it slows the pace dramatically. Likewise, the shell-equivalent acorns hit pretty hard for what should just be a small obstacle, slowing you down almost as much as a spiny shell at times. So when you get pummeled by 3 of these in a row in first place, it just sucks. Fortunately though, another helpful tool does mitigate this problem. The core racing controls work fine on their own, but drifting adds a decent amount of depth and variety to it. I'll admit, drifting does feel weird in this game, as it swerves you to the side much quicker than it does in something like Mario Kart. But if you take the time to learn how it works, it can break this game down. Yes, they are difficult to pull off, but the resulting boost is very much worth it, motivating players to learn a track's layout so they can effectively drift at all of the right times. Courses like Pirates of the Caribbean were built to constantly swerve and boost through, and when you couple this with a variety of split paths and shortcuts, you end up with an experience where no two laps feel the same. The player is constantly engaged with multiple options for success, which feels surprisingly nuanced for a game called Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour. What doesn't feel nuanced, though, is some of the game's technical aspects, notably the collision. Hitting a wall usually sends the player in a random direction, often ricocheting you backwards or sideways or just wherever the game wants. Nothing is less fun than losing a lead because you bumped against a random object that arbitrarily sends you in the wrong direction. Some courses definitely have this worse than others. Straightforward ones like Space Mountain are usually pretty fine, but cluttered ones like the Jungle Cruise are a major pain in the butt. I've also experienced several glitches, like falling through the ground entirely, and don't get me wrong, these technical aspects don't ruin the core gameplay, but they are still common enough to be pretty irritating. All that aside, even if the core gameplay is good, a racer still lives or dies by the quality of its track design. There are 13 courses available, adapting attractions and areas from all across the Walt Disney World Resort. The racing tracks include the Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Haunted Mansion, Tomorrowland Speedway, Space Mountain, Rock and Roller Coaster, Dinosaur, and the Blizzard Beach Water Park. Additionally, there are 3 bonus courses where instead of racing others to a finish line, you're racing yourself to find tokens within a time limit. And these are based off of Test Track, Disney's Hollywood Studios, and the Typhoon Lagoon Water Park. These are fun once, but aren't really that enjoyable since the coins are in the same spot every time. I guess maybe speedrunners would get a kick out of it, but it's not for me. Overall though, there's still a good variety here. All 6 theme parks are represented in some way, and the rides they chose are all pretty timeless and iconic. Even today, it's still novel to see how each of these are translated into game form. Their layouts are generally pretty close to their real-life counterparts, including set dressing that directly matches memorable moments from each attraction. The fan service is off the charts. The cart designs change in each area to reflect the vehicles of the rides they're based on. Iconic dialogue from each ride can be heard as you slow down and listen closely. And the music is lifted directly from the parks, including well-known tracks like Zippity Doodah and Grim-Grunting Ghosts. Fun fact, the rides without suitable compositions have reused tracks from other Eidos titles, including Total Eclipse and, again, Gex. Unfortunately, the fanservice does lead to some pretty big problems regarding the actual track design. Some of the best courses are Blizzard Beach, Tomorrowland Speedway, and Rock and Roller Coaster, aka the ones that take the most liberties with their adaptations. Blizzard Beach is a water park, Tomorrowland Speedway doesn't have an iconic layout, and Rock and Roller Coaster mostly takes place in the dark, so it makes sense that these are mostly their own thing. Meanwhile, the maps that are super faithful to their base attractions usually end up having a lot of issues. The worst stage in the game is ironically my favorite real ride of the bunch, that being the Haunted Mansion. The attraction it's based off of is lengthy and claustrophobic, slowly taking you through the cramped and twisted halls of a vast manor. So you can already see how that would not translate into a fun racetrack. You can barely see where you're going, there's way too many sharp turns that even drifting doesn't help with, and it is way too long. Laps can take up to 1 minute and 40 seconds to complete, and a full race can sometimes take close to 5 minutes. That's only a bit shorter than a full race on Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 64, which is itself infamous for being ridiculously long. And Haunted Mansion isn't even the only course with this issue. A large chunk of the game's tracks have 90-second long laps, and while none of the others are quite as bad as Haunted Mansion, they still do drag quite a bit. I understand it's difficult to faithfully shrink down a 10-minute long dark ride into a minute-long lap, but I really think they should have taken more liberties when adapting attractions. Retain the atmosphere and theme of each ride, but give it an original design that's better suited for a racing game. A good example of this in action would be the Splash Mountain course, as it recaptures many of the ride's iconic scenes, but with a layout that is mostly original. When making a game like this, it's best to focus on how one remembers the ride, rather than how it actually is, emulating the feel but still accounting for the fact that it's a game first and foremost. One last thing I want to talk about before wrapping up is the character roster. You would think that the playable characters in a Disney game would be Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and so on, but by now you've probably noticed that this roster is mostly these weird OCs. There is Chip, Dale, and Jiminy Cricket, but for the rest, there's, Tiara Dalmage, Amanda Sparkle, Baron Carlot, Polly Roger, Oliver Chickley III, Otto Plugnut, Ned Shredbetter, Mo Whiplash, Bruno Biggs, and XUD71. Okay, I don't really understand this. Like, yeah, it's most definitely because of Disney's stingy licensing, but even then, they were fine allowing their iconic theme park rides in the game, so why not their iconic characters too? But I guess I'll be fair, these new characters aren't exactly bad per se. There's some pretty neat designs in there. I think it's clever to theme each one of them to a different attraction, like Polly Roger being a Pirates of the Caribbean fan and Baron Carlot being a Haunted Mansion representative. They even have their own little backstories from the game's manual. XUD71 is a machine that tests out attractions, Tiara Damage is a kid who wants to be a villain instead of a princess, you go queen, and Bruno Biggs is a huge Mickey Mouse fan who also happens to be a stereotypical bully. I'll give them credit, they're pretty creative. Like, yeah, they do kind of look like cheap knockoffs, but I'll accept them. I like some of these guys. Plus, since they originated in a video game, they are all 100% eligible for Super Smash Bros. I even created 47 burner accounts to vote for Otto Pugna during the Smash ballot. I'm still waiting, Sakurai. Where is he? When will he get his invitation? Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour is honestly an alright PS1 racing game. It's obviously pretty imperfect. The technical issues and inconsistent track design lead to a lot of frustration, items are pretty imbalanced, and only 10 tracks in a racing game is not that many. But at the same time, I can sense that the developers did care about this project. It doesn't feel like it's a cynical cash grab. The folks at Crystal Dynamics were probably pretty big Disney World fans. Even if they were probably rushed to get this out, like most licensed games of the time, they still applied their talents very well. With the weird but fun drift system, the detailed course designs that look great by PS1 standards, and the handful of genuinely great racing tracks. If you're a fan of Disney World or 32-bit racers, I think this game is worth giving a shot. I honestly kind of want a sequel. There's a lot of potential in a successor that has improved visuals, updated track designs, and new courses entirely based off of newer Disney attractions. So what do you know? I still enjoyed Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour. It felt nice to revisit a game from my childhood and to still find enjoyment in it, warts and all. But what did you think? Have you played the game before, and if so, did you agree with my take on it? If you haven't played it, did this video spark any interest? Comment below, and if you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe for similar review and video essay content in the future. With that aside, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later.
Well, by golly, you did it! Another beautiful fireworks show at Walt Disney World, and it's all because of you. Chip and Dale surely thank you, and so do I. Woohoo!